On this week's episode, Lightyear crash lands for Pixar. Is Marvel reaching too far with Wonder Man? And who wins with the Umbrella Academy versus the Sparrow Academy? All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Gerald Glasser from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows. And if you can, please give us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support any of our great shows that are out there, including the Pop Culture Cosmos, of course, the Lakers Fast Break, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football. We are the #1 tabletop RPG streamer that's out there, so go ahead and check out our tremendous games we've had all weekend long, for instance, right there at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. Plus, also, you can go ahead and check out the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every day at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. Of course, our website, popculturecosmos.com, Humanica Media, and everything that we do to support you out there in the world of pop culture, and anything that you can do to support us as well is sincerely appreciated. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He is our own Josh Final Fantasy of Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to go ahead and check out what he's doing today at popculturecosmos.com, Humanica Media, where there's a ton of video stuff that you can go ahead and check out. Plus, he's always looking to do more work in the realm of video. So if you need a great videographer and you want to go ahead and check out what he's doing today, please go ahead and do so at humanicamedia.com. His great podcast, Topicocalypse, and the Super BS Gamescast, plus his amazing book, Congratulations, You Suck, available right now at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. What's up, man?
What is up? What's going on, man? Happy Father's Day.
Well, happy Father's Day to you and to everyone out there, all you great dads out there. Happy Father's Day to you as well. Hope it's been a good one for you. But Josh, part 1 of me eating crow this week, because what is the first thing that we learned in school together, in class together, with the many courses that we took together at National University in journalism school?
Journalistic integrity, I guess. Is that
check your sources, check your sources, and
right.
recheck your sources.
All right. Well, what's going on? I'm lost. You're gonna have to bring me into the light here.
Yeah, Melinda's gonna let me have it on Friday. She really wanted to be on today, but of course, she's doing the Vampires and Vitae. So please check out, by the way, Vampires and Vitae wherever you get your podcasts, and also Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. But she's gonna let me have it, because I was so giddy, in a way, to see that Diablo 4 had been announced for Xbox Games Pass, and reading some of the many sites out there, some of them are not as detailed and some of them don't fact check as well as others, simply stated that it was for PC and Xbox when it comes to a release next year. But if you check further, also if you check out the press release that they sent out themselves, Blizzard did, and also other news outlets, more reputable news outlets than the one I was actually looking at, and the ones I was actually looking at the time, it's actually coming out to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 as well next year. So
Yeah.
I kind of blew it.
Oh, it's all good, man.
Well, no, I'm going to be eating some crow, and I'm actually going to be eating crow on the Friday show in front of Melinda, and I'm going to give her every chance to roast me as well.
You know what's funny about this is that, I was not expecting. I know
Eating crow now.
Crow, man. I wasn't expecting, though, Xbox to have Blizzard Activision announcements during their conference. I wasn't expecting them to do that, because the deal is not, from what I understand, the deal's not actually going to be finalized until next year sometime.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
it just, and anything that they would have to, because the exclusivity is supposed to kick in when the deal kicks in. So anything that's in development right now is not going to be exclusive, as far as I know. So I don't
Plus,
know that.
also as well, some of these IPs have certain contracted licenses that they
Yeah,
actually already went in and,
because
like for instance, I'm sure Diablo,
it's been in
the
development for a long time, so I'm not
yeah,
sure.
and they already agreed to that with PlayStation a long
Yeah,
time ago on Diablo 4. So yeah, too late
yeah,
to back out now on that. Plus, like you said, it's not going to go through officially until next year. But
right. It's, I don't know. Just the that kind of thing kind of reminds me of like Starfield, right? Because they're saying is exclusive to Xbox, but it's a long time. So obviously, there's something in the contract when the deal went through saying that it's going to be exclusive to Xbox. So things could change, when that contract, when the deal finalizes, things could change. But yeah, as of right now, everything's multi-console.
except for Starfield, Starfield is
Except,
going to
yeah, no, I'm talking about for Activision Blizzard stuff.
Yeah,
So
Activision Blizzard stuff. Yeah, that's still going to be cross-platform. I still assume that Call of Duty will be cross-platform even in the future. I really don't think that one's going to be something that is going to stay an console exclusive. I think there's just too much money on the board for them, especially having the number one video game each and every year, all seemingly for almost the past 15 years. Outside of any GTA or Red Dead Redemption, they've been the number one video game seller each and every year. So I expect Call of Duty to stay cross-platform. I think that it would be in
yeah,
the. I would think it would be great for them, or great for Xbox if it was just a Xbox
well,
exclusive. But there's
yeah.
just too much money on the table for that.
Right, and Phil Spencer's even said, like, if something is profitable on a certain platform, then it doesn't make sense financially to take that game away from that platform. And I don't know, I don't know like who plays what on which console, but a majority of the
Oh,
people that I
Melinda
know,
has said she will not ever get on an Xbox. So
well,
because
that sucks for her. She's missing out on a lot of great content. I jumped onto PlayStation earlier this year, and I'm glad I play everything. But
Diablo
this
4
is
though, she's
This is like the what do you call them? Like the boomers who are like, "Oh, I'm not gonna watch this because it's has so many like late 2000 things in it. They don't make things like they used to, so I'm just not gonna do stuff. I'm
I
not gonna
tried to
watch this
talk
or
to
do
her
that."
on the
So
air. We've gone to therapy sessions here on the show,
not
and it
not
just
anything against Melinda or anything, but I just like you're missed. I have this theory with like my parents too. Like they don't want to watch any new movies because they don't, that it's so far removed from their like beliefs and all that. And I'm like, you're missing out on a lot of great stories because you're refusing to watch something just because it has one minor thing you disagree with. It's the same thing with video games. A lot of great narratives out there that you're going to miss out on because you're a you
a
will only
diehard PlayStation
a
fan or a
diehard, yeah,
diehard Xbox fan, vice
yeah.
versa. Yeah,
I
I agree.
and me, like I'm the ultimate Xbox fanboy, but I still love my PlayStation games. Same thing with Nintendo. So it's
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways,
Well,
but yeah, it's the exclusivity thing's interesting. We'll see. Yeah, I mean, there's always a chance Diablo could change. It's going to go to PC no matter what because that's kind of like
yes.
home base for those games.
Well,
But
that's Xbox Games Pass too. Anywhere
yeah,
they can go
oh,
ahead and push that.
right, right, absolutely. Yeah, and when we get into the Final Fantasy talk, I have some thoughts on the more exclusivity stuff. But yeah, I mean, eating that crow, man, eating that crow.
I'm going to be eating a lot of it on the Friday show. So if you want to see me humiliated even more, and you want to see me actually roasted
You know what?
online, go and check out the PC Multiverse coming up later
Yes.
this week.
Even better though, we're gonna put this poll out on the Pop Culture Cosmos page.
Now, here we go.
Xbox versus PlayStation. Let's see what the fans have to say and be honest, okay? Like I'm totally fine if you roast Xbox. I just like it more because of the ecosystem's friendlier.
I
But
will go ahead and pin it on all of our social media. On our Xbox,
okay.
how about I will pin it on our Facebook and Twitter? Let's put those are two most popular
But
apps.
here's the thing: I don't want to just know Xbox versus PlayStation. I don't want you just to answer Xbox or PlayStation. I want to know why. Okay,
Or why would you not include Nintendo though, or PC?
yeah, yeah. I mean, Nintendo. let's just do Xbox versus PlayStation because this is where the water gets the hottest. Everybody, no matter what console you own, still owns a Switch of some type. I
Okay.
want to know Xbox versus PlayStation and why. I want to
All right.
let's just get these feelings out into the world. I want to know.
All right. Well, if you have any thoughts on it ahead of time, please let us know. PlayStation versus Xbox for you, or do you want to go ahead and say you choose Nintendo or your PC over everything else? Please let us know. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com or PopCultureCosmos on our social media, especially Facebook and Twitter, at PopCultureCosmos on Twitter, and of course, PopCultureCosmos on Facebook as well. But before we get to even anything else in the show, I also want to go ahead and give everybody an update that we also talked about on the Friday show, and that is Vince McMahon's continual trouble in regards to the controversy, in regards to the $3 million
Can you tell me
hush
what he
fee.
did? I'm confused. I've read so many different articles and heard from
Okay.
different people.
Well,
Can
the
you
Wall
like
Street. Well, I can. Yeah, I will tell
yeah,
you. The Wall
yeah,
Street Journal.
summarize.
Yeah, they actually posted an article that says since April, the WWE board, which has supreme power over everybody, even the CEO Vince McMahon himself, who owns 80%, I think, of the controlling stock in the company and all that, yada yada, from what I've been able to ascertain over the course of the past couple of days. They have been investigating him since April in regards to a possible up to $3 million hush money that they gave a former paralegal for the company. She started out as a individual with $100,000 a year in her first year, made up to $200,000 a year in her second year. It was believed somewhere along there she started a behind the scenes relationship. I will just leave it at that with Vince McMahon, and
Okay.
then at some point in time went into also a relationship with head of talent relations as well. So that is a problem that's out there, as far as it's concerned. So for both the WWE and Vince McMahon, so that's something that I think people are going to have to go ahead and talk about with the head of talent relations as well, John Laurinaitis, in the fray. Vince McMahon has since stepped down as CEO. I don't know if it's temporary or permanent. I have to think it's temporary at this point in time. Stephanie McMahon, who was on a leave of absence from the company as far as being in charge of head of creative, she has come in as the interim CEO to run the day to day operations. Vince McMahon is still involved as far as with creative decisions. He is still the man in charge to talk to in regards to that. He was actually appeared on WWE SmackDown. Everybody thought it was going to be something juicy, or he came out to apologize or address the situation. He didn't. He just said basically, "Welcome to SmackDown," and just a couple words and then left. So it was basically an idea to go ahead and get a ratings bump, and which it did. It got a ratings bump for that
Nice.
period of time. So that's smart on his part. So I give him that. But that's where we're at right now. I think over the next few days, as this investigation continues with the WWE, we'll see if it actually is going to be the one controversy that's going to take him down, because this company has had a ton of controversy over the years and nothing has seemed to go ahead and stick when it comes to Vince McMahon. So we'll see if this one sticks as well.
Yeah, this could be one of two things. Like one, they're going to investigate and then they're going to find a bunch of other dirt on him, or two, it's just like you said, maybe it's a stunt, man. Everything in WWE is fake. So,
No, this is legit. This I would have to say, because this is a publicly traded company. You
no,
can,
I know. I'm
yeah.
just I'm just kidding. But
I
yeah,
can't say this is an angle. They might turn it to an angle. They might turn it into a
yeah,
storyline. That's a different thing. But if that's the case, I think that would be very trepidatious ground that you'd be walking on there if they did. So
right, right. Yeah, I don't. I mean, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if Vince McMahon was doing that. But that's just he's from I've actually heard a lot of things like behind the scenes, on other podcast people who are formerly employed by them saying that he is pretty shady. So I don't know. We'll see.
we'll see indeed. But yes, he has done not everything on the up and up over the years. I've obviously to
Yeah.
put him in the place that he's in the business and the company and the industry that he's in, which has always been an industry which has not done everything on the 100% up and up in this way it's treated its consumer base out there.
Do you
This is not surprising to me at all in the least.
do you think that, I mean, and we can move on here in a minute, but do you think that just like the whole television movie lifestyle, you think they kind of set people up to become that though in a way?
I think it's just like any industry that's out there. I mean, I've met people throughout the course of my life. In fact, I was manager in several different companies over the course of many years. I saw a lot of things and could tell people a lot of stories about a lot of things that I saw behind the scenes. That some of it was on the up and up. Sometimes it wasn't on the up and up that I saw as far as what you heard or the rumors or the things that were said over the course of years that, kind of shady stuff that was going on behind the scenes. I don't put I don't put anything past anybody in corporate America these days, not
Yeah,
just the
yeah.
wrestling industry. This is just something that, okay, greed is, well, what is it? Gecko? Don't you, oh, actually, from not Charlie Sheen, Michael Douglas from Wall Street.
Oh yeah,
When he
absolutely.
said greed is good, and you saw everything that went and happened there, and if you've ever seen
Mhm.
that movie, you understand that it parallels life. That greed gets to the best of us, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, it can't do that. So yeah, I think that at this point in time, I wouldn't put it just past anybody with the WWE. I would just go ahead and say this is something that's a recipe, or entertainment as a whole. This is just a
Yeah.
recipe that can happen in any industry or background.
Right. Yeah, because you hear about. I mean, you're right. It probably takes place all over the place. The entertainment industry just has the curse of being covered constantly by the media.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But what are your thoughts out there on the latest controversy at the WWE with Vince McMahon? Do you think this is finally the end of Vince McMahon and him controlling the WWE? Please let us know. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com. When we come back, we're going to be talking about a ton of things, including Lightyear, Umbrella Academy. Going to remind you of the Steam Summer Sale coming up this week and a even better deal from Amazon. We're also going to be talking about some good stuff on Paramount Plus, Wonder Man, Scorn versus the Callisto Protocol, and of course Capcom and Final Fantasy as well. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back with the Pop Culture Cosmos. It's Mr. Josh Culture Cosmos, aka Josh Peterson, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And big shout out to all of our radio stations that are out there. Please go ahead and check them out and support them as best you can. And once again, a happy Father's Day to everyone out there as well. Before we hit the mid card break, my friend, I wanted to go ahead and run down a couple things that's going on, and the major thing that's going on in the news is the disappointing results and returns for the front weekend for Lightyear. Pixar's Lightyear, Disney Pixar's Lightyear underperformed quite a bit because people were looking at a 70 to 80 million dollar upfront with about $130 million worldwide in its first weekend. Unfortunately, it did not even come close to that. It actually did not even finish number one at the box office. The Dinosaurs for Jurassic World Dominion actually finished number one here domestically and number one worldwide, with the sad part, I think that it fell to three worldwide. Number three, Lightyear did worldwide with only an $86 million return, because Top Gun Maverick is still surprising audiences as it hits $900 million in the not too distant future, and it looks like it's going to go over $1 billion with plenty of room to spare. Lightyear, unfortunately, again finished in the low 50s in the US this weekend, around $51 million. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Is this the beginning of the end for Pixar on the theatrical format? Because they have found tremendous success with Soul and especially Turning Red, which has been a massive success on Disney Plus. Could this now be a precursor with the disappointing returns for Lightyear now that Pixar movies will now go straight to Disney Plus?
You know, I think it's circumstantial. You know, you're looking at. Let me pose a question to you real quick. If
Okay.
you had not seen Top Gun and you haven't seen Jurassic Park, and your family was like, "Hey, it's Father's Day weekend. Let's go to the movies." You get to choose Top Gun, Jurassic Park, or Lightyear. What would be your choice?
Well, I think at this point, if I hadn't seen all three, I'd probably say Top Gun, because it seems to be the one still captivating the most as far as the most interest seemingly out there, because of the fact it's still It fell just behind, even though it's several weeks old now. It fell just behind Lightyear domestically and worldwide. I think it's still snuck out number two ahead of Lightyear. So it's still earning a ton of cash
Yeah.
around. So
Right.
that word of mouth has been tremendous for it. Jurassic World Dominion did drop substantially, but not substantially enough. So there is some good word like yours out there, which I mentioned on the Friday show. You had a good review of it, and despite what the critics have been talking about, it's still held enough and is still doing pretty good itself.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. But looking at like critical thoughts aside, like they're releasing a kids movie on Father's Day weekend. Like I don't know what the thinking behind that was. Like if you want to set a movie up, it's like releasing a movie on the same day as an Avengers movie. You know,
Yeah.
like if you want to set something up to fail, this was the perfect way to do it. You know, like it's just I don't know what's going on at Pixar. Like I haven't watched Buzz Lightyear. All I've seen on Buzz Lightyear is like the everyone talking about the controversial stuff in Lightyear. I haven't really dug into any of that stuff, but like if someone were to ask me what do you want to go see, Top Gun, Jurassic Park, or Lightyear, I would tell you Jurassic Park or Top Gun. You know, I would not go to see. This is not a movie. Not sorry. This is not a weekend where dads are taking their kids to see movies. This is a weekend where families or kids are taking their fathers to see movies. It's just I don't know. What do you think? I mean, do you think that this is that I'm off here, or what? What are your thoughts?
No, that's actually a very good perception that because Father's Day, father, hey dad, you pick the movie that we go check out, and like you said, now you got the dinosaurs still out there, and you've got Top Gun Maverick that's still out there as well, both very prevalent out there. And what is interesting to me is that, as I said on the Friday show, I have a source at Pixar who was, said that everybody in the studio was, I didn't say everybody. The inference I got was that the studio was kind of disappointed in Turning Red not becoming a theatrical release. But it all
And
worked. It worked out well
right.
because it did such massive numbers on Disney
Hmm.
Plus.
Yeah,
But
and they're
and they were ecstatic that at least Lightyear was going to be going to this format, but they have to be disappointed with the initial returns.
yeah, and here this is a big thing too is that because of Disney Plus, you're taking away a lot of interest in parents taking their kids to see movies like this in theater. Like I wouldn't be surprised if it's not just a Toy Story property, but if they tried to do some kind of like I don't know, Little Mermaid or Beauty and the Beast spin-off in a Pixar format, I think that we would see similar results because parents are just like, well, let's just wait till it comes to Disney Plus to watch
Well,
it,
you
you
see
know?
that I think, with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, because the fact
Mhm.
that as Disney Plus gets larger with its consumer base, you're going
Yeah.
to see more things like this because this was a movie that was expected to do over $1 billion. It will probably not reach that $1 billion mark. If it
Oh, for
does, it's
sure.
just going to eke over it. It's over 900, but
Yeah.
still, it was expected to do, I think, a little bit more than that. But I think a lot of people out there are waiting for it. And guess what? It comes out this week to Disney Plus, so they didn't have to wait that long for it to come out to Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, I think with Lightyear, they're going to say, okay, it's going to come out in July. I'll just go
Mhm.
ahead and check it out then.
Yeah, and if you look at it like Top Gun and Jurassic Park are both like iconic pop culture properties and they're not going to be hitting. They've been the studio heads and the people in charge of the movie has been very vocal about saying, "Hey, these are not going to be hitting streaming platforms for a
Yeah, they're
long
not going to
time."
hit Peacock and Paramount Plus anytime soon. So
Yeah, and so I think that's the big difference here is Disney has this massive platform where they're putting things out. I think it was
it's a
like a
6 week window
six week window, yeah, 6 week turnaround. So parents like why, like
or
I want
7 week in this case.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I don't think it really matters that it's like a Toy Story property or whatever property it might be. Parents are going to look at it and say, "Oh, well, it's just going to be on Disney Plus here soon anyways. What do we pay this $8 a month for if we're not going to use it?" So,
Well, you remember earlier this century where movies would be out and you could always say, okay, well, I'm going to catch it on DVD or videotape. And you would have to go ahead and say to yourself, okay, if I do that, it's going to be 6 to 9 months.
mhm.
So if that's the case, I have to give myself 6 to 9 months. For Top Gun and possibly as well Jurassic World Dominion, it is going to be maybe not 6 to 9 months, but it's still going to be a little bit of wait before you see it on those platforms.
Oh, for sure.
People with Disney Plus and also as well with HBO Max, you're seeing those quick turnarounds, like the Crimes of like the Secrets of Dumbledore, which I actually caught the
Did
other
you
day.
say, was that on purpose or was that a
That was
Freudian
on
slip?
purpose, yes. After
Okay,
the
all
Book of
right.
Sloboda Fett, I know you saw it, you liked it. I thought it was okay. It was just slow.
It was
It was
when I
slow.
say it was
You cannot
okay,
tell.
I'm comparing it to the last
Oh
one
yeah,
in
that was
terms of
horrible.
like
Yes, yeah,
being
that was
okay.
horrible.
So
But yeah,
compared
this
to the
was
last
okay.
one, it was
This
not.
was
It
okay.
was. It was entertaining. You know, it
The
wasn't
Secrets
like
of Dumbledore, but it
yeah.
was slow
I
paced.
didn't fall asleep. Right, right. I fell asleep in the last one, but this one I was like semi awake for, so it was good.
Okay, but you got to admit this one was slow. So
It was it's not Harry Potter by any stretch of the
no,
imagination. I
no,
think
that's
they
for
keep
sure.
trying to capture that magic. It's just not
Yeah,
happening.
no, the Secrets of Dumbledore indeed, but it was okay, but just slow. But I will say that when it comes to Lightyear, I think a lot of people are pointing to Disney Plus, and I don't think that's a wrong perception that
No.
Disney Plus and its success is going to be the cause of more than one movie from Disney being released. With the understanding, hey, I can just go ahead and check it out in a few weeks, and I know it's going to be there. So that's pretty much what's going to come down to it. But it is Lightyear. It did have a disappointing performance, but let us know if you've actually seen the movie, your thoughts on it. It's getting mediocre reviews. It's still on Rotten Tomatoes, got it right around 80% approval rating there. It's not got a high Metacritic, but still, seemingly the word of mouth is that it's got a okay A minus coming out of there as far as the audience box score is concerned. But please let us know what your thoughts on Lightyear are. If you can, please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Before we hit the break, my friend, I wanted to go ahead and touch on Umbrella Academy, which is coming out this week to Netflix, season 3. And it's going to start off with maybe a confrontation between the Sparrow Academy, which is at the home of the Umbrella Academy. So, your thoughts? The reviews in advance of this season have been okay on it, not quite as high as seasons past. I know we always like to equate the Doom Patrol, of course, The Boys, which is going on right now with another solid season in the books. I really am enjoying it. It's not quite the wow factor I've had with last season or the season before, but still pretty good with The Boys. Your thoughts on Umbrella Academy as it hits season 3?
So I'm still catching up on the boys, but this is the climb right here. This is the true test of a show's mettle is whether or not it can survive a third season and still feel like it's presenting you with fresh and exciting things. You know, I've heard the same thing about season 3 of The Boys. Like it's cool, but it's not anywhere near as exciting or intriguing as, you know, season 1 or even season 2.
They're developing the characters more.
There
And I think
yeah.
that the pacing and the action is going to take a back seat because of it.
Yeah, and, you know, you saw this with Stranger Things too, except it was the 2nd season that people were
Yeah.
down on versus the 3rd. But this is the test, though. This is I think the average Joe's perception of Umbrella Academy season 3 is going to be kind of the deciding factor in like where does the show go from here. My wife just showed me trailers for it last night, and I'm excited, but it's one of those things, you know, people are still watching Stranger Things and they have another season. Like it's a very small window to release this property in. I would have waited until August to push this out
I agree.
because we got July 1st, we got Stranger Things season 4. Like Stranger Things is Netflix's flagship right now. And so to
Yeah.
release this show in between the two parts of this massive series is not smart. But that's not to say people aren't gonna, you know, they'll
Wait,
have
but
a
because
long
you've
time to
also
wait.
got the Elsa Pataki movie that did well the
Mhm.
earlier part of this month. Then you've got her husband, Chris Hemsworth. He's got his movie Spiderhead that just came
Yeah,
out as well.
that
I
was
mean,
pretty good.
and then you're asking Umbrella Academy to, in this 2 week window, to do some numbers for you. And that's asking a lot. Like you said, you
Mhm.
literally is like 10 days before everybody goes ahead and switches back to Stranger Things.
Yeah. And I can tell you that I'm gonna start it because my wife really likes that show, but we're probably only gonna get it about halfway through that before we switch back to Stranger Things, and then we'll probably go back to Umbrella Academy just because we're not at a point in our lives where we can sit down and binge something like a lot of people are able to.
I mean,
So, well, I mean, and your kids are older too, so you're not having to like change diapers and make sure they don't starve or kill each
I'll leave
other.
that to you now. Happy
But
Father's Day.
yeah, thank you. No, anyways, yeah, I'm excited to watch. The trailers do have a lot of intrigue, and I remember sitting there in the end of the last season, and be like, "What the heck, man?" And then that was like almost a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Yeah,
No,
but I love I love the way that they end their seasons though. Both times
always
they
with
come
a
out with a
cliffhanger.
shocker.
Gerard
Yeah.
Way, man, like we always talk about these actors having these renaissances in their career. Like Gerard Way, like look at he's doing Umbrella Academy. He's working on something else. I forget the name of it. Oh, he has a Danger Days
Mhm.
adaptation coming out, and then My Chemical Romance is doing another album. Like he's coming back in a big way, and it'll be interesting to see with all these projects in the air if he's going to be able to keep this momentum and keep his content as fresh and exciting as it has always been.
Well, we'll certainly see what's coming up for those in the Umbrella Academy as season 3 hits this week at Netflix. Are you a fan of Umbrella Academy, and are you going to catch season 3 coming this week on Netflix? Please let us know. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com, plus also anywhere you get your social media, right there at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Coming up after the break, we're going to be talking some Wonder Man. We're also going to be talking about Scorn versus the Callisto Protocol, some Capcom and Final Fantasy. Steam has a summer sale going on, and of course, some stuff that you should check out on Paramount Plus. That's coming up after the break. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back with the Pop Culture Cosmos. It's Gerald Glassford, along with my good friend and fellow compadre and fellow graduate from National University, Josh Peterson. My friend, so much to talk about on the back half of the program. Thank you so much for watching and listening, but so much still to talk about on today's show. Wanted to go ahead and give everybody a reminder once again, like I did on Friday, the Steam Summer Sale. Get your wallet out. I know Prime Day is around the corner here in a few weeks, and we'll talk about that. But the Steam Summer Sale is coming out this week. If you're a PC gamer, this is the time to open up that wallet and start spending some cash because there's some good deals. I know they're going to come along the way for a lot of major games. Maybe even some, Elden Ring action there. We don't know for sure, but everybody seems to be hoping that
Also,
by
Elden Ring's on sale at Target right now for about $40 too.
Oh, there you go. There you go indeed. So hopefully you'll see some good sales on some great games coming up here in the not too distant future for PC lovers out there on the Steam Summer Sale. I did want to mention again, speaking of Prime Day, Amazon is advancing that a little bit by going ahead and trying to beat Steam at their own game with some free games, including Mass Effect, the Legendary Edition. That is going to be available for free this week for PC owners on Amazon. So go ahead and check that out. Plus, Grid Legends, a few Star Wars games, and 30 games in total starting on the 21st will be available for free. I think they're going to do it little by little by little. They're going to spread them out after a few days after, in a period of time. So they're going to go ahead and spread that out to you. But 30 games will be available for free off of Amazon Prime for Amazon Prime holders out there for their Steam PC games as well. So check that out. I wouldn't mind another free copy of Mass Effect Legendary Edition, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, my friend. Can't get
Did,
enough Mass Effect.
did you finish the Legendary Edition on the console version?
Still just wandering around in the universe, my
Yeah,
friend. I'm enjoying every bit of it I can and just
it's
dragging it out as best I can.
yeah, no, I agree. It's been kind of my like game to play in between games. But right
Mhm.
now I'm actually speaking of Steam, I bought Final Fantasy 14, the online game, and I just like I remember having an affinity for these games as I was younger, but now I'm like I just don't have time to do all this content.
Now, Final Fantasy, my friend, it's all yours, my friend. And as an expert, we'll go ahead and talk about Final Fantasy on the back end of the show because, as Friday's show, that was also the talk with Final Fantasy Celebration. But before we head on out, just want to go ahead and mention again, please, you want to go ahead and check out for PC game owners, the summer sale from Steam and also the free games available on Amazon. Prime for PC gamers out there, so please go ahead and check out that today. Wanted to go ahead and mention, speaking of games, Scorn versus the Callisto Protocol. Both of these games were recently announced and also showcased off at the Xbox Showcase for one and the PlayStation State of Play for the other, plus also Jeff Keighley's Summer Showcase as well, or Summer Game Fest, I should call it. They all have these fancy names. But I wanted to go ahead and talk to you about, as a man who loves his Dead Space, the original creepy space horror game that I think has just captivated people throughout the years. I know they're going to be doing a redo of it. They're going to be rebranding it. They're going to be redoing some love to it once again. So EA will be doing something in the Dead Space 5s in the not too distant future. But until then, we have not one but two games coming out later this year, I believe in October for one and December for the other, in Scorn and the Callisto Protocol. Your thoughts on which one you like more, which one you think will do better? My money, I think, right now is on the Callisto Protocol. I really like that one a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and speaking of the Dead Space remake, like all three of these games are coming out within 4 months of each other because the
Yeah,
Dead Space remake I think is February or March. But
yeah,
looking at Callisto Protocol, if you looking at this, like it's hard to believe that this was originally set in the PUBG universe. But then they're like, oh, this is so far removed from what's going on in PUBG, and PUBG is kind of failing right
yeah,
now. So that is probably a smart idea to kind of like tear it away from that a little bit.
yeah. I don't
Uh,
blame them. Don't
Looking
blame
at
them.
it though, like it looks, I think we're peddling two different types of fears with these games. Like I think Callisto Protocol, much like Dead Space, is more of like a visceral type of fear, like you're constantly looking around at what's going to pop out at you, whereas Scorn is going to be more of like a um
Well, it's
uh,
almost like a do-it-yourself own adventure with Scorn, but it's a
right,
lot of horror, a lot of blood,
yeah,
not very
it's a
much as far as
visual,
storytelling.
it's yeah,
Not
it's they're going for the shock factor
Yeah,
type of fear. It's like the difference between like a paranormal horror movie versus a just like a stab 'em up type film, you know. I and you know, that being said, like I'm intrigued by Scorn, and I probably will play it once it hits Games Pass. But
of course.
you know, if you're gonna ask me like what game, if I were going to buy either of those games and I didn't have access to Games Pass, and you're to ask me like what game I would choose, definitely Callisto Protocol, because it looks like it not only has like cool gameplay, like the Dead Space style gameplay, but it has an intriguing story. Whereas Scorn is like, oh, there's an arm popping out of a wall. There's an arm with legs. There's a leg with a face, and you know, it's just it's body horror at its finest.
There you go. I just think that because it's going to tell a better narrative, I think because they've all out and out said at Scorn, they're not going to try and give you there's not dialogue with Scorn. It's just
Yeah.
basically a lot of visual intake that you're going to be doing, and of course the shock and horror, the shock and awe is what you're going to be going there for when it
It
concerns
reminds me of
Scorn.
Doom a little bit. Like it's
Yeah,
all just like let's here's some
but
cool
they've
weapons.
they've
You
been
just
clear to say it's not a shooter. It's a first person adventure,
is it?
but it's not a shooter.
Oh, that's kind of like the Medium, where you're kind of like just walking around. Do you remember that game, the Medium? That's a
Yeah.
game was on Games Pass not too long ago. You're just kind of like walking around and hiding from things.
They said there's elements of a shooter, but they said specifically that they don't want it called a shooter. So,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it's kind of weird there where it's going to lie and if it's going to capture the general audience out there and gamers out there. When it comes to the Callisto Protocol, that is going to be, like you said, have more of those Dead Space vibes and tell more of a straightforward story
Yeah.
and a narrative, which I think more people might gravitate to. So, but that's again, a lot of it's going to be based off of word of mouth and
Yeah.
value for your money. How long is the gameplay and the adventure? We'll go ahead and check all that out and probably report on it as the year ends when both these games has come out. Like I said, one in October, one in December. So we'll see what happens there. But it is the Callisto Protocol versus Scorn. Your thoughts on which one you're going to be targeting first? Are you going to be playing both, or are you just staying away in horror from these horror games? Please let us know. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com or PopCultureCosmos on your social media as well. Well, still before the break, we're going to be talking a little bit more about a couple things. In fact, let's go ahead and talk about Wonder Man, because Wonder Man, an obscure Marvel hero, and that's something I think people are going to have to go ahead and come to reality to, is that as the Marvel Cinematic Universe expands and continues, they're going to have to try and create more ideas or grab more ideas from the past, and so more and more obscure characters from Marvel's past are going to be brought up or going to be brought out to life. And Daniel Cretton, who we know from Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, he is in talks to actually start up the series. Actually, he pitched Marvel on it, and it looks like he's going to go ahead and be the executive producer on the series for a Wonder Man. So, as a comic book individual, much more deeper than I am, tell me a little bit about Wonder Man, and if you think this character is too obscure. We've seen obscure characters before pay off for Marvel, i.e., the Guardians of the Galaxy. But please let me know if this could be a thing that's a little bit too obscure as a series coming up later. But I'm thinking 2024 at the earliest for Disney
Yeah.
Plus.
I think that Wonder Man is kind of like a product of that weird competitiveness between DC and Marvel, where they're always ripping heroes off from each other.
Mhm.
We had DC had a Justice League that had featured some kind of like Spider-Man like hero not too long ago. So I don't know. I think that Wonder Man is definitely obscure, but I think it makes sense that they're bringing him into the world because he was created by Baron Zemo. So I wonder. My thoughts are that it's going to have some kind of tie into the Thunderbolts in some way.
Could be a
So
possibility.
yeah. So I mean, that's the only thing that really makes sense to me. Unless they're trying to capture some kind of like echo of the Flash, like trying to create their own version of that keeps people going back like they do to the CW season after season. But I don't see that being the case. I see this more of being like a tie-in to the Thunderbolts movie coming out because it's a series like this because its origins revolve so strongly around Baron Zemo. I definitely see this being some kind of tie-in to what they're doing next with that character.
It's so funny that there actually was a Wonder Man on screen from Marvel, but we never saw the light of day as consumers unless you watch bonus footage of the DVD as Nathan Fillion was a Wonder Man that was
Oh yeah, I
created in
saw that.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, but all of those parts were cut out there because I guess for some reason Marvel said, no, we don't want this type of character on the screen as of yet. And look, 10 years later almost, and there you go,
Mhm.
you get yourself a Wonder Man in the not too distant
Yeah,
future.
and
So
Nathan Fillion went on to play a voice in MODOK.
yeah, so absolutely, and he's done DC with the Suicide Squad. So with it's the MDK, I think the guy with the detachable arms and all that from the
Mhm.
Suicide Squad. So yes, Nathan Fillion's gone on to do some great things, but it is Wonder Man. I'm curious to see how he's going to incorporate himself into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Who they will finally get to play Wonder Man, but the guy behind Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings, Destin Daniel Cretton, and Andrew Guest are the guys behind Wonder Man. So, what are your thoughts out there on the Wonder Man? Wonder Man coming to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, most likely in a series for Disney Plus, but I don't see it happening until 2024 at the earliest because the slate is kind of full right now for the MCU. But what are your thoughts on Wonder Man heading to the MCU? Please let us know. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com. My friend, before we go ahead and head on out, some great things to talk about, including some stuff on Paramount Plus, including Players, which is something I think every gamer out there wants to know a little bit more about, which covers it's a mockumentary with a little bit of, I guess, a hint of a little bit of Spinal Tap per se because it's a mockumentary based off the life of League of Legends players with a fictional League of Legends team. Gets a new player in there. There's a superstar player who is a little bit older, i.e., 25, because in that industry, 20, you hit your mid 20s, you're going downhill already. So it showcases where there's a younger player coming in as a budding superstar and the dynamic as far as the two battling against each other and creating this sort of controversy from there. So it's Players. that's available now. It's gotten some decent ratings over there for Paramount Plus. Your thoughts on players? That could be something that maybe garners a little bit more interest for the world of esports.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I didn't actually know what this show was until a couple days ago, and I saw a trailer for it. I'm like, oh, that could be interesting.
Yeah,
There's
it
a
came
lot
out,
of
I think, over a little over a week ago.
yeah, because it's funny if you look at Paramount Plus has actually been putting out a lot of content like this. You look at
Mhm.
uh, one show that they've become really popular for that just went to a second season is that Texas Six, where they're chronicling the life of lives of a six-man football team in Strawn, Texas, and
Mhm.
that one's done a great deal of numbers for them. So I'm wondering if they're trying to capture that magic with esports. But then again, this is not so much about putting an esports team together. It's more of like you
This
said,
is a mockumentary. It's a fictional.
mockumentary. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I don't know. But yeah, not a lot of esports content out there. So I mean, this could be something that could give birth to a genre, I suppose.
You never know. It just depends on if the gaming community, I think, supports it. I know there's members of the gaming community that are in and do appearances in this show. I've already seen that already. So
Mhm.
we'll see if the gaming community at large actually goes ahead and turns on Paramount Plus to watch Players Season 1. So please let us know if you're checking out this, I guess, this ode, this funny ode to the world of League of Legends, and the fact that, yes, what's not so funny is how popular League of Legends is around the world and the whole tournament and the LCS gaming scene. So we want to know your thoughts on the mockumentary Players Season 1 on Paramount Plus. Please let us know, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. But I also, if you watch Paramount Plus and you check out Evil Season 3, a show that originally debuted on CBS that has gone over, moved over like Navy SEALs did to Paramount Plus, and is actually getting really, really strong ratings. It's got a 92 for Season 3 on Metacritic to show how very, very well received it is. Your thoughts on Evil, this battle between good and evil, and the temptations therein, as far as the holiness of these religious, a priest, an assistant. They're going battling against the forces of evil each and every week. So this is a show that's gone under the radar, even when it was on CBS, and now it's on Paramount Plus. The reason why it's getting a lot of news is because, again, it has scored really high with the critics this time around for Season 3. Your thoughts on Being Evil for Paramount Plus?
Yeah, I mean, these types of shows, I don't really watch many of them just because it's just not my cup of tea, But this is one of those. It kind of reminds me a little bit of I don't know. Didn't they try to make an Exorcist TV show at one point?
Something like that. Yeah, this goes
Yeah,
down that
this.
realm.
Yeah, yeah, and I know they have that show. I forget what it's called, but it's made by the Haunting of Hill House guy on Netflix. It's kind of like that. And then there's Preacher. I don't know. It's just like all these people trying to capture a subgenre of horror that has not been explored very well in television. From what I understand, people like it, so it's not. I don't really have a lot to speak on it, but
Well, I can say it's a good move for them to go
yeah.
ahead and switch over from CBS to Paramount Plus for this type of show, because the first thing that pops up is TVMA now for the shows on Season 3 for Evil, which is something you could never put on CBS, as
Oh
far as
yeah,
something with and increase that type of content for a show named Evil where they're battling evil. You do
mhm.
need to go into a darker realm, and a TVMA rating allows you to go ahead and do a lot more with this IP.
Yeah, and this is something we're probably going to see a lot more of too. I mean, you saw this with Lucifer too. Like they're able to do things they couldn't do on TV. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure we're going to see more and more of this. So as time goes on and the streaming platforms grow, we're going to see more companies picking up broadcast television shows that have been canceled and giving them new life and expanding on stories in ways they never could before. Because with television, you're limited by what it's the FCA, right? I think that's
FCC.
FCC that dictates what you can and can't put on television, and
And
with
radio.
radio and with streaming services, you can't. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised
So
if the
no bad
streaming
words, young man.
right, and I wouldn't be surprised if the streaming services put the FCC out, make them irrelevant too.
We love you, FCC. Just say that. Just saying that. So be nice to us. Anyways, I wanted to go ahead and make sure everybody knows about Evil Season 3 and Players Season 1 on Paramount Plus. But finishing up our conversation on this, Paramount Plus, I think, is a streaming network that is really trying hard to get your money as far as trying to go ahead and provide a value for you. I really want to compliment them because since that major advertising campaign and since they switched over to what they were before to what they are now with Paramount Plus, and they made the name change and they made this change to go ahead and concentrate more on that streaming platform. Paramount Plus has really done more by leaps and bounds to go ahead and get you in as a viewer. The Star Trek shows, Picard was but I will say that Discovery has really always been really good, and I will say that now Star Trek Strange New Worlds has been killing it. It is definitely one of the best Star Trek shows in a long time. They are really doing a great job. They seem like they're having a lot of fun. It comes across on screen that they really are enjoying what they're doing with Star Trek Strange New Worlds. So I really highly recommend it. And of course, the biggest shows on the network, which is Halo and 1883 and all the Yellowstone spin-offs that they're throwing on there. So because Yellowstone, oh, let's throw another spin-off. Let's throw another spin-off. Let's go 100 years back. Let's go 100 years back more. Let's go 100 years back more. Let's go 50 years back more. They're actually doing all these spin-offs of Yellowstone, which are appearing on Paramount Plus. So that, I think, is right there telling you that Paramount Plus is becoming a serious player in the streaming industry.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's really smart of them to revive these old Nickelodeon properties too, because now they're creating a market for kids
Yeah.
as well,
Yeah.
which is
They have a
something
Star
that
Trek show just for kids on Nickelodeon.
right.
Yeah.
And this is something that, like Peacock can't boast about doing, and a lot of these other like Hulu has, I don't even know if they have a kids section on there, but this is, you look at Netflix, they have a kids option. Disney Plus lets you control what your kids are watching, and this is something I'm seeing Paramount Plus do too. So I mean, they're adding an infrastructure within their platform that is making it more user friendly for not just parents but also young kids as well.
Well, I'll tell you what, I am just thankful that Paramount Plus is putting out what it can because it's trying anything that we can go ahead to make this competition for your streaming dollar a little bit more worthwhile and not just defaulting to Disney Plus, HBO Max, and Netflix is good to me because I like now seeing the fact that Apple TV has upped its game. I like the fact that now Paramount Plus, since the name change, has upped its game. I like the fact now that they are taking this seriously about what they can do to go ahead and put good stuff out. Amazon Prime themselves is starting to put out a lot more good content. So I really am enjoying this. I know it's a lot for everybody out there. I know it's like when cable blew up and you had to choose all over again with the satellite and cable and all that. But it's, to me, ultimately, it is better to have all these options than to not have these options.
Yes, I mean, that's true. It was just nice when we could get all this content from all these providers on Netflix, but
All right.
yeah, no, I get it. I get why, if there's money to be made, they're gonna do it. But yeah, I mean, the only outlets that I'm constantly subscribed to, are Netflix, Disney, and Paramount Plus.
There you go. HBO Max, though, is still doing a great job as well. So,
Mhm.
what are your thoughts out there on Paramount Plus? Please let us know. PopCultureCosmos@yahoo.com. My friend, it's been a great episode, but I left us about 7 minutes or so about for Capcom and, of course, Final Fantasy. I know we talked about a little bit on the Friday show about the second part about how Final Fantasy VII is being extended and reimagined as a trilogy for this remake called Rebirth. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is going to be coming out next year, which is the second part of this trilogy for what now Final Fantasy VII is going to become. Plus, Final Fantasy 16 is on the way. That was announced during the State of Play. Final Fantasy 14 has a whole bunch of add on stuff, as you already know already, since you just recently got it. But also Capcom with Street Fighter 6 and all that. Resident Evil. There's the Resident Evil Village is going to come to VR. Resident Evil 4, the remake. All this good stuff from Capcom and Square Enix with Final Fantasy.
Yeah, so I mean, looking at they Capcom did something interesting. I was fully expecting DLC for Village, and Village was an amazing game. So if you haven't had a chance to play this game, definitely check it out. Um, we're looking at it, and it's Shadows of Rose is a story DLC coming out. But what's really flipping things for me is that they're moving back to the third person point of view, right? So like one of the best things I think Resident Evil ever did was go first person, and that happened in Resident Evil 7. Um, yeah, that was Biohazard. That happened there, and that was really made that game truly terrifying because you were in the shoes of like Ethan Winters, and you're trying to rescue your wife and all this, and it was a truly terrifying game. Looking at this, and I wonder if they're doing it because you're switching to the perspective of Ethan's daughter, Rose here. So I guess it makes sense, but I just I love the first person gameplay, so I don't know why they take a step backwards. But then again, I don't make the games, so, and I know Village is coming out with a third person mode too, so I don't know. It just changes the dynamic for me. They're releasing a multiplayer mode. Looking Monster Hunter has more stuff coming out. Street Fighter is the one I kind of want to talk about, though. Do you there? It's looking like there's an open world mode in Street Fighter 6. Like, am I off in my assumptions of this?
Well, I don't know if it's an open world per se yet, fully
Well, like a
reimagined, fully
yeah,
realized, but I think that at some point in time, that's going to what's going to. I think that a fighting game is going to have to go ahead and do that. It's going to have to go into an open world type
yeah.
scenario where you could just go and pick fights, or with
Well,
random people like that out there in the world of whatever game that you're in. But yeah, I think that's ultimately what's going to happen. I think there are going to be some open worldish elements with Street Fighter 6 just to expand this game even more. But I'm hoping that it will actually go ahead and expand it even more than I'm doing. But I don't think it will be full on open world. You can
no,
just go
yeah.
out of it.
Just a minimal open world at the
Yeah,
least, because they're showing you're able to kind of walk around the city a little bit and go from fight to fight, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Yakuza games,
yeah.
but
Those were good games. Those are
those
good
are,
games.
yeah, and those are great games. But looking at this, like this could be, because they have Forza, right? I would say Forza Horizon has rejuvenated the racing genre game, the racing
Yes.
sims, or whatever you want to call them. Looking at this, like, this could be the next evolution in fighting games, because this is something that's never been done before, and it's super interesting. I was telling Brian Wegner from Super BS, I was like, hey, this could be what gets me back into Street Fighter, and I'm definitely interested in knowing more.
Absolutely. So with
Are
Square Enix and Final Fantasy, what are your thoughts on going on there?
Okay, so Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. Absolutely excited about this game. I loved Crisis Core on PSP, and this always irritated me because there's no way to play this game right now unless you have a PSP. They've re-released these old games on like Switch and Xbox. You can play the mainline games, but you can never play Crisis Core. And this looks like everyone's calling it not a remake, but a remaster, but it looks like it's remade. Everything looks like it's made in the same graphics engine as the Final Fantasy remakes game. So
I'm sorry, I just gotta laugh when we always talk on this show about remaster, remake, reboot, and it's just like we
it's
all have to keep it straight. I have to keep it
yeah,
straight, and it's just so hard. It's
all
just
the
so hard.
terms, yeah, lining up. So I'm really
And
excited
if
about
we have a hard time, just talk about the general public at large, how they
yeah,
perceive it.
exactly. Surprisingly, Crisis Core is coming out on Xbox, but they have not made any announcements about Final Fantasy Remake being put out on Xbox yet, even though the exclusivity deal, I think, is over at the end of the year. They haven't made any announcements about hitting Xbox. So it makes it seem like putting Crisis Core Reunion out on Xbox is kind of pointless if you can't play the game that it's leading into.
Mhm.
I don't this it that doesn't make any sense to me. So I everyone was expecting, we got it released on Steam, but everyone's expecting it to hit Xbox consoles, but it doesn't seem like they're planning on doing that anytime soon. Rebirth it looks cool. I mean, I'm kind of doubting it's going to be out by next Christmas because it's a Tetsuya Nomura project, and he remember Final Fantasy 14, was it 15, that took like 10 years and went through like 3 different name changes before it was finally released. And So that's cool. Ever Crisis looks all right. I never really played First Soldier, but I don't know. Like, there's a lot in the
Wasn't the
Final
joke on
Fantasy.
Final Fantasy 15 is that it started out as Final Fantasy 5?
It was Final Fantasy versus 13.
No, I was just kidding. I was just saying it started out
Oh,
as Final Fantasy 5, and just so many years passed by,
oh
it
yeah, and
became
they
Final.
added. Yep, exactly. Yeah, but I don't know. I'm excited for all this Final Fantasy stuff. You know, it sounds like for the next couple of years we'll have a lot of Final Fantasy to play. There also comes a danger of, much like the Assassin's Creed games. Remember when they started pushing things out? They reached a point where there's like 2 Assassin's Creed games coming out one year. I think one was like the Ezio
Yeah, but
collection.
it's never
All that
stopped
shit.
Final Fantasy. It's never stopped Square Enix. I mean, they'll put on if you had a serial and they wanted to go ahead and license a serial, they'll throw a Final Fantasy name on
Right.
that.
Yeah,
So
they will, but I mean, I just like you look at the past, right? Like there was Final Fantasy Type 0 originally started out as Final Fantasy 13 Agito, I think it was called, and they restructured that one, but that one is like one of the most it was fun, but it to the general public, it's like one of the most forgettable Final Fantasies ever made. And you have the After Years, and then you have Dirge of Cerberus, which I was expecting them to talk about this anniversary thing, but yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I will say, I am intrigued, highly intrigued by the new Final Fantasy VII narrative. But then they did that confusing thing, like, oh, what if something's out of time and blah blah blah, kind of like Tetsuya Nomura's Kingdom Hearts. Well, he's a heartless. His heartless has a heartless, and they're heartless. Like it's just, I hope he doesn't convolute what's already a very confusing story. I don't like Nomura very much because he takes forever and his stories are so confusing. So I just hope he doesn't wreck this game.
Final Fantasy confusing? Oh, that could never happen. That could
To
never
be
happen.
fair, man, I mean the last couple entries in the series have been pretty straightforward as opposed to past entries. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Okay. As I told Melinda on the Friday show, just see this tree of Final
What
Fantasy just like branching out all over the place
what
into
are
like becoming a forest in and of itself.
what are her thoughts? So can you summarize for me? Like I
Well, it's
haven't
just
listened to that episode
it's
yet. Is
so
she excited
intimidating.
or
Not a whole lot because it's so intimidating. The Final Fan getting into Final Fantasy if you're not into Final Fantasy because there's so much Final Fantasy. It's just like,
yeah,
yeah, where do you start? You know, it's just something
right.
like with people they know Final Fantasy VII if you're a gamer because you've heard of it or you've seen it or you've played it in some form or fashion because it's so much ingrained into the gaming culture. But
Yeah.
where do you start if you haven't approached Final Fantasy? I
No.
think that's the most intimidating thing.
Yeah, and I feel like they're gonna have to reboot at some point because people don't know nowadays. Like modern gamers aren't aware of the. Well, a lot of them are, but like people who are, if they're trying to sell this franchise to a new generation of gamers coming up, like yeah, the numbers are intimidating. You're like, oh, so I have to play 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 games
Oh,
to
what about Final Fantasy Tactics or Final Fantasy this?
right. And
Final
what
Fantasy. I mean,
world
they've
do they all
attached the
take place
Final
in?
Fantasy name to everything.
Well, that
It's
was like what was it? Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, right? And Trial I think Trials of Mana started out as a Final Fantasy game. It's yeah, I totally get it. And that's why I think they need to like reboot the numbers if they want to keep this franchise relevant, especially if they're reaching towards like Final Fantasy 20 or whatever. That's going to be rough for people.
What are your thoughts out there on all the things going on in the world of Final Fantasy? Please let us know. Pop Culture Cosmos on your social media and popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, another great week in store for you right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Don't forget, I will eat some crow on the air. Well, not literally a crow because the Humane Society will be after me, but I will be doing something to go ahead and allow Melinda the great opportunity to roast me for my incorrectness on the Friday show. But my friend, it's been a great episode. I cannot thank you as always for being my compadre in crime. Happy Father's Day to you one
Yeah,
last
me
time. But
too.
any last thoughts before we head on out?
Yeah, so I watched Moonfall yesterday.
Oh, I've still got shivers from that.
Did you see it?
Oh, yes, I did. I
It
thought, okay, I heard it was bad. I thought,
yeah,
okay, I need something for my worst of list. Yeah, here
it
you go.
was there. Like it was like a knockoff of Halo, and so many, actually mostly Halo is kind of a knockoff of
It
mostly
gave me
Halo,
bad
but
Geostorm vibes, man.
yeah, and Geostorm. But a part of me really appreciates like what they tried to do, but it just was not done well. Like I can appreciate the like the mythology, or like, oh, they're humans way out in the universe at some point, just like Halo. And I appreciate them trying to create a sci-fi thing, and you can tell they're trying to prepare for a sequel, which probably won't happen. But I don't know, man. I think Roland Emmerich, he's a filmmaker that never truly made his way out of the 90s or
No,
early 2000s.
no, never made it out. Indeed, just bad, just bad, just bad.
Yeah,
Bad,
yeah.
bad, man, bad.
It was not as bad as 2021. Actually, it was worse in 2021. I take that back. John Cusack was at least enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, I would say that. But yes, if you want the worst of 2022, pretty sure that it will be on your list.
Moonfall.
So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the pop culture cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great